Hello, everybody. Welcome to Japan.
Thank you.
We have a four question about VetsAllNatural. So today we invited a guest from Australia. Please introduce yourself, Mr.
Charles Davidson
Yep.
from Victoria in Australia on the Mornington Peninsula.
Yeah. What is your job?
I run a place called Peninsula Hot Springs, which is a natural hot spring spa centre.
Yeah. Can you speak Japanese?
少し話せます。
ありがとうございます。Next one, Dr. Bruce.
Yes,
Please
yes.
introduce.
My name is Dr. Bruce. I'm a veterinary surgeon from Australia. I live in Castlemaine in Victoria.
Thank you. 院長お願いします。紹介を。
本場獣医の院長の本間です。こんにちは。今日はオーストラリアからカンガルーのお肉とか、臨床医としても非常に有名なドクター・ブルース先生、それからお友達のですね、同じくビクトリア州で、温泉を経営しているミスター・チャーリーさんを、うちの三日日のビラにお招きしました。今日はですね、日本の文化とか、あといわゆるそのオーストラリアから輸入しているカンガルーの肉の件について、我々の経験とか今後の抱負とかですね、語り合いたいと思ってます。
はい、ありがとうございます。Thank you very much. So we just started to the free conversation style. No problem.
Yep.
Anything you take a mistake, no problem. This is free.
What kind of a mistake actually?
Yes.
Yeah,
never
never make a mistake.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So first question to Dr. Bruce. What is your business and what is your specialization? And in this 2 or 3 years, what is your main job?
Okay.
Please.
Yes. All right. Well, I'm a veterinary surgeon, so in Castlemaine in Victoria, I have quite a busy vet practice. We employ 5 veterinarians at my clinic, and it's set in the country, so we do a lot of dog and cat work, but also a lot of horses and a lot of farm animal work. So it's quite varied. The other side of my business is making natural pet food and pet supplements, and that's something that I've been doing now for 18 years. So it's been going for quite a long time, and that's been something that I've been very passionate about. And in Australia, we focus very much with my business on feeding raw food, the primary ingredient being raw kangaroo meat. I think as Dr. Honma might have mentioned.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's something that I do with great passion. For me, part of the special part of my practice is using food as medicine, so that rather than having to use drugs all the time to fix skin problems or urinary tract disease or digestive problems, I'm able to use food and supplements to achieve very, very effective results with the dogs and cats in my practice. So that's what I do. I think I specialise in what we call nutritional medicine.
Thank you very much. Why, Dr. Honma, why you started to import the raw kangaroo meat? Why do you think about the kangaroo meat?
Yeah, it was almost 8 years ago. So originally was embassy office recommended to something contact to Australian very unique natural food. So we are not so much experienced about raw meat, but we have so many skin problem and also so many prescription diet food and also so many medicine using to in our practice. So but our word Ishoku Dogen is actually a medical treatment, and the food is always connecting to each other, because healthy food is most important to healthy life. So this is the same as a human and pets. And even my experience, I like Australia so much. I very like a Japanese Aussie, and I like kangaroo carpaccio, kangaroo sashimi. So, sounds very tasty for pet food. And the same time, it was 8 years ago. So, embassy office recommended to contact to Dr. Bruce, and also we started to discussion about this. I was so surprised to how so much good effect, very big impact to health condition about even no dog, even the cat too. So this is so much great food. That is the start. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I have a question about the kangaroo meat, raw meat.
In raw root, yes.
Japanese consumer bought dry food, mainly dry food, and sometimes canned food. That is a very standard, I think. But I and Dr. Honma visited Australia. He visited every year. But I visited Australia 5 years ago. But I had a very big shock because I visit to the supermarket, but a lot of meat inside the store, but beef for human, pork for human, and beside kangaroo for pet, beef for pet.
Yes.
So why so popular? Why the raw food is the popular for the Australian pet owners? Why do you think? What do you think?
I think there's a number of reasons why it's popular. I mean, one thing is that in Australia, we have a very good supply of quality meat. So there's a lot of meat available in Australia. Australia is quite unique because we have kangaroo in Australia. And because there's so much kangaroo meat available, it's meant that over the time, it's been quite a reasonable priced meat source for using in pet food. It's also very good quality for pet food. It is very low fat, it's an organic food, and it's very palatable. So dogs and cats naturally really like the taste of kangaroo. It's very, very attractive to them. And I think Australia is a country where I guess we eat a lot of meat in Australia as people as well, because we have such big farming area. So there's lots of beef, there's lots of lamb available. So I think the average diet in Australia is quite high in meat. And I think it's been quite traditional to feed meat to dogs and cats in Australia. When I grew up as a little boy, I remember having to chop up meat for the dog. We used to have lamb necks and gravy beef and kangaroo. And I remember when I was about 7 or 8 years of age, the very first time I saw a can of dog food. So up until that time, it was always just table scraps and raw meat. That's how we traditionally fed dogs and cats in Australia. As the new evolution of pet food came about and tinned and dry food certainly became popular in Australia like it is in Japan, but I think Aussies maintained the fundamental understanding that raw meat was an important part of the diet. So rather than feeding just dry food, most people in Australia will still feed some fresh meat with their diet. And we tend to find that now, after maybe 50 years of having dry food and tinned food in Australia, people are actually moving back to feeding more raw food because we've seen this change in health. Animals that were really healthy over 50 years, not so healthy, more allergies, more skin problems, more digestive problems. And now it's become evident that is related to the way we feed them. Just the same as Dr. Honma said, we are what we eat. If you eat a processed diet all the time, you will find that your health over time deteriorates. And because dogs and cats have such a short lifespan, their generation turns over very quickly. So 50 years for dogs and cats is like 300 years of human evolution. So very quickly we can see the effect of this diet. And now people are realising that they have to go back to feeding the old-fashioned diet of raw kangaroo or raw meat to get good health again. So it's become very popular. In the last 10 years in Australia, raw meat has come right back to being, a really popular choice. And that's why you can go to the supermarket and find a big refrigerator in every supermarket with raw pet food. So yeah, we're very lucky.
Thank you. I found raw food, raw meat, and some kind of the raw food,
Yes.
like raw food. I don't know what the kind of the categories is position is raw food. Last year you made a new product, VetsAllNatural's
Yep.
raw food,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Please tell me, is that what is the range or what is the
So is it the new dog roll, the one we're
Yes,
talking about?
yes,
Yes.
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 please tell me that the new product.
Yeah.
Why you made it?
Yeah.
The,
Well, the dog roll is actually what we call a pasteurised product. So it's a raw meat product in a pack, and then it's put in hot water for a short period of time. So it's pasteurised. And what we found is that it's, for some people, they don't like the concept of raw meat. So a lot of pet owners, when they see raw meat or they see blood, they're not so happy. So sometimes we find that with the roll, because it's had been pasteurised, it holds together and it doesn't look the same as raw meat. So it's something that we find is a good stepping stone for people who want something fresh and something healthy and natural, but they're not quite ready for the total raw diet. So this is a halfway step, and it's a new product that we've just launched in Australia. Hopefully we'll have it in Japan very soon. And it's something that I think is quite exciting because it has most of the benefits of the raw diet, but is a bit more what we call user-friendly. So it's more friendly to the consumer as compared to just the total raw diet. I mean, personally, I still think raw food is the best way to go. So as a Puritan, I still feed my dogs all raw, but I find using the roll, it's convenient sometimes because it's a bit quicker and a bit easier to serve to the dogs.
Thank you. Charlie, I have a question about you.
Yeah.
You are a very successful businessman, I know, but in this time your situation is only Australian consumer. If do you have any dog or cat?
Yes, we have a dog at home.
Your home?
Yes.
What kind of the dog?
It's a Jack Russell Fox
Jack
Terrier.
All right.
So it's a little dog.
Okay. What is your choice? What is your dog's food? Dog's food?
Most of the time we feed our dogs the traditional diet that Bruce was talking about, which was when we eat in our family, whatever we have left over, we give our dog. So sometimes it's some vegetables, sometimes some raw meat, and sometimes Bruce would not like me saying this, but we also feed it sometimes cooked meat, like from cooked meat after we've eaten as well. So
That's okay.
What is the most popular brand? I mean, national brand, dry food in Australia.
yeah, I understand the question, but I actually don't know because we don't feed our dogs dried food.
Yeah,
So we don't. No.
You
So we use it all the raw food or the fresh vegetables.
don't feed the dried food.
Look, sometimes we will use Bruce's. So I have got some of Bruce's, and we add a little bit of dried food, some of the mix,
A complete mix?
the complete mix. So we do add that sometimes, but it's a supplement. It's like an extra food that we will give our dogs. So,
I have a question about how treat the raw food. In Japan, raw food culture is very new. Most people choose dried food that I told already. But year by year, our sales is growing well. In this time, we just started to sell 200 grams for Japan's consumer.
Yes.
For sample, sometimes starter kit. For starter kit. I have a question about the first contact raw food.
Yes, yes.
What is the best way to feed the animals? Please advise.
Yes, well, it's a good question, because you need to understand that when you start feeding raw food to a dog that has never had raw food before, it's important to go slowly. It's a big change to the dog system, because the thing about dry food is that because it's been cooked at very high temperature, it's completely sterile. So it has no normal living bacteria, no sort of, it's easier on the body in some respects. But what we find is that when you introduce raw food, I usually say to people, introduce it just a little bit on the first day, and then each day over about 10-day period, you increase the amount of raw food. So I would say if they're feeding dry food, you would say on the first day, maybe 10% kangaroo meat and maybe 90% of the dry food that the dog is used to. And then each day you increase the amount of raw food, so that over 10 days you can transition the dog from eating cooked food across to eating raw food. But it's important to go slowly, because if you do it too quickly, some dogs can get sick just because their body's not used to the raw food. A bit like someone like an Aussie coming to Japan and then eating sushi, every meal straight away, and suddenly the body's going, ooh, I'm not ready because I'm not used to it. So you must get the dog or cat used to the new raw food diet, and just take time to do that. I know from personal experience, Charlie and I went to India a few months ago, and we went to India and we ate lots and lots of curry very quickly. And then after 3 days, big problem. So you have to be gentle with it. So that's important. But a lot of people in Australia will feed a combination. So some people will feed, raw food in the morning and then maybe some dry food at night. So it's quite common for them to feed a bit of both as well, which is okay. I think it's fine. But I think the raw food is the really healthy part. The dry food is like having fries with your hamburger. You don't need them, but they taste good.
Thank you. Dr. Honma, do you have some nice idea for Japanese people to feed the raw food?
Yes, I have idea.
Your doctor's situation.
Yes, I have idea.
Please tell me.
Because I recommend start 10%
Okay.
with raw meat, kangaroo meat.
Okay.
And 90% dry food okay, but Mr. Charles actually told to us usually regular pet owner before people get the table food, and also basically dog, cat, Japanese nekomama is white steamed rice with tuna meat, canned food, or sometimes dry tuna meat with a katsuobushi. It's actually the stock material for the miso soup, basically, right? So, but it's not good for the vitamin balance. And dog food also, we just started almost 40 years ago. And so many national brands we importing. But actually why? I don't know why the Japanese pet owner not so much give the raw food. I think maybe if dog and cats left over their own food and later they eat again maybe they have some sick stomach or something, diarrhea. It's very concerned about this. So then, very important things, don't too much feed, actually. Don't too much give to the total portion. It's very important. Then, every dog has about different capacity, actually. Even the same size, same ears, same all. But now, our new consumer, like in this 5 years, 7 years, pet owner now more considering about health condition, and also everybody doesn't want to spend so much money for the vet to fix the cost for the treatment and the medical care. So then now many Japanese owners understand how important to food. So then it's already Dr. Bruce recommended to teaching us maybe 10% start, and should be one time eat, and the leftover go to the trash box. Yeah, don't left long time. It's very important actually. Then we know that our pet, the stomach capacity, it's very important. If too much eat, I don't know why. This case, stop. Yeah, even the dog still they want to eat. If too much quick something change, no good. Yeah, even the menu in changing in the ingredients for the food, vegetable, raw food, dry food, and sometimes table food and everything. So quick change no good actually. Yeah, but the 10% start put in the kangaroo raw meat. It's 100% guarantee. It's very good effect, especially for immune system and basically come back appetite. So much big appetite and fine and something feeling like they back to the natures. Because my friends, he has 8 dogs and 4 cats. He started to, it was 4 or 5 years ago, started to kangaroo meat. All the dogs, all the cats likes very much. And all dogs, cats, they know where it is. Kangaroo meat, where it is. It is in the refrigerator. Before the food time, like a breakfast or dinner. All the dog and the cats waiting in front of the refrigerator. And something very wild. The owner so much concerned, my dog something changed. Then, I told him, yes, they're back to nature actually. It's very good.
Is that the dangerous influence? Right? No?
No, just they really want to come back something in nature.
Right.
That's why I feel, wow, it's a very good opinion about this. Because so much changed. Because the Japanese toy-sized dogs, always inside the house, only 1 kilograms, 2 kilograms, something our bone surgery, very difficult, right? It's very important to vitamin D3, calcium, glucosamine acid, many things actually. That's why it's originally from the nature's everything, food. Yeah? And one time Dr. Bruce told me about dingo in Australia. They surviving so much difficult place, very hot, dry, not so much easy to catch the food, right? But they are big body actually, like a Japanese Akita, more than bigger than the Shiba Inu. Those big body they can keep in the bush in Australia, and their life is not so short, over 10 years, easy. Why? Because it's totally organic and lots of raw meat with vegetable, even plant root. They know which is the good one. So that is very important. That's why first step we start to good raw food because even skin problem, actually allergy problem, Japanese dog and cats maybe never eat kangaroo meat past maybe 30 years, 40 years, long time ago because our pets doesn't have any antititer to kangaroo meat. Then basically never happened to something allergy action from the kangaroo meat. Maybe long time, no problem. Because our experience, 1980s, ram and rice was so much working about even a skin problem. But now, we have already so many skin problem because many cats had already antititer in their own body, maybe in their kidney. That's why, so we have to find out something new amino acid. It's going, it's have actually, kangaroo meat is one of the most safety choice. That is my reason actually, recommend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very true.
Dr. Bruce, you completely agree with his
Yes,
idea?
absolutely, yeah. I mean, kangaroo meat is even in Australia, we find it's the best thing for treating allergies. It's what we call a unique or novel protein, so something that the dog has not had exposure to. Kangaroo meat is not used to make processed food generally. Most kangaroo meat will always be a raw food, so you can guarantee that the animal has not got antibody to the raw kangaroo meat. And that's really important when you're treating disease. And the thing to remember is that even though you have, the small bonsai dog in Japan, they still come, their ancestors are still the dingoes and the wolves or the wild dogs, and those wild dogs have been eating raw meat for 40 million years as they've evolved from the wolf. And now the domestic dogs have only had maybe 50 years eating the dry food. So the dry food is a big change to their system, and what we're finding, as I said, over time is that the health of the animal when they stay on dry food for too long is just going down and down and down. And problems like allergies and kidney failure and urinary tract disease all relate back to the food that we feed them. So it's the most important step you can make to getting a healthy dog or cat is to feed some raw food in their diet. And get their immune system, really active and functioning. So it's simple and easy, and it pays back. I always say to people, what you put into your dog and cat in terms of effort to make good food will come back to you in a longer life for your dog or cat, and much happier and healthier dogs and cats. And that's what we all want. Even as veterinarians, the most important thing is thinking about the long-term health of the dog or cat.
Dr. Bruce, what is the negative ingredient in what is the most bad protein for the animals in present day? In Australia now.
Yep.
Please tell me.
Look, I think what we probably find now is one of the worst things for dogs is chicken. Chicken is the #1 meat protein used in dry food. And the reason, it's not that the chicken so much is bad in its own right, it's that because it's been used for so long, animals have become sensitive to the chicken. They've actually become allergic to the chicken, because what happens when you feed dry food to a dog or cat is that the meat protein, the chicken protein, has been cooked at very high temperatures, usually 280 degrees Celsius, which is really hot. And so it mutates the protein. So the protein is what we call denatured. It's no longer like it was when Mother Nature designed it. It's become changed. And the more you eat that and the more you absorb in your body, the more reactive your body becomes. So we tend to find now in Australia that if a dog has an allergy, the first thing we remove is chicken-based dry food, because it's very likely that they are reacting to the chicken. And it's a problem because a lot of dry food is made with chicken, because chicken is a very cheap meat. Compared to something like kangaroo or beef or lamb, chicken is very cheap, and that's why it's the #1 ingredient in most dry foods. So it's unfortunate that chicken is not such, chicken meat by itself is not such a bad thing, but it's become bad for dogs and cats because they've been exposed to cooked chicken, and that's what the problem is. So that's the first thing I change usually. And then I guess the level of carbohydrate in dog food is the other problem that we find. Most dry dog food has too much carbohydrate. Often 60% carbohydrate in the diet, whereas dogs and cats need protein. They are what we call carnivore. So their diet should be much higher in meat and much lower in carbohydrate. But dry food has sort of switched it around because the meat is expensive and the carbohydrate is cheap. So when you put it together, you have this diet that is too high in carbohydrate, and we know that in people, if you eat too much carbohydrate, you tend to get fat. And your health is not so good. You have problem with type 2 diabetes, heart disease. So it's the same thing, the same health conditions and changes that are happening in people, we are now seeing happen in animals because we're feeding them a processed Western diet very similar to what's causing problem with people. So I think we can learn the lesson of what we've done to ourselves and not do it to our dogs and cats.
Could you tell me what is the major disease about dog and cats in Australia now?
What's the main disease?
Main disease?
Yeah, allergies. Yeah,
Allergies,
number one. Allergies. So skin problems with that, ear infection. The next one probably is arthritis. In Australia, arthritis is a big problem because the dogs are bigger, so we see more arthritis as a problem. After that is teeth problems, so dental disease, teeth and gum problems. And each of those diseases relate to diet. So I can fix dogs' allergies by giving them raw food. I can fix teeth problems by giving them raw food. I can help with their arthritis by giving them raw food and supplements like glucosamine or chondroitin sulfate, shark cartilage, green lip mussel. So you can put supplements with the raw food to fix arthritis. So the three biggest problems in dogs in Australia are all food problems, and they are caused by bad food, but you can fix them with good raw food as well. So that's why I think raw food is becoming popular. People are now learning that they can fix their own dog or cat by feeding a good diet.
What about the cat?
Yeah, cats the same. The number one problem with cats, we have a couple. Teeth is big problem with cats in Australia, bad teeth, and cats getting fat, another one. So obesity is a big problem with cats. Skin problems, not quite as much in Australia because the cats in Australia are able to roam around, so they're not confined. They don't live in the house as much. So in Australia, cats are able to hunt, and so they actually catch their own raw food in Australia. So we tend to find less problems in cats than we do in dogs because cats are able to actually hunt and catch their own food. And that just happens in the back garden because in Australia, most people have a garden and they have birds and lizards and things, and so the cat will catch and eat their own food. So they're quite clever. They know what's good for them.
Dr. Honma,
Yeah.
In Japan, what is a major
Yes,
disease?
it is exactly same as Australia in a doggy, but the cats totally different. Cats are our precision food sales and also our database of the disease. Most like over 60% FUS, Ferrari urinary syndrome. Yeah, because it's just opposite environment about talking to just Dr. Bruce now talking about cats. What kind of surviving under the environment? Before we didn't have FUS. Not now, but almost there 10 years ago. But in just 10 years, 15 years, so much infections like FUS, feline urinary syndrome actually, bloody stone and sometimes kidney stone and lots of kidney problems also. Because almost no exercise. 80% now in the house. It is not cat life basically.
Yeah.
But actually cat looks like no problem because they like sleep, right? So 80% sleeping, it is not good for them. That's why we are number one everywhere. Number two is overweight. And sometimes outside cats, before so much many injury. But now not so much because we have almost maybe even countryside 60-70% castration and spay. So then we are very different about clinic data about disease and something health problems. So, but very important thing is how to keep health. So it's very important to body weight control and also very enough water, fresh water. Always take a good water, and also good exercise. So this is a maybe difficult point for a Japanese cat. Yeah, because if you go outside Japanese cat, lots of feline A's and leukemias, FIP, so many things actually. That's why just think about how long keep their life. Maybe inside house is better than outside. But always, if we more something good idea about the food, then cat keeping more healthy life, more something good natures, matching to the nature for the body immune system actually. So I also recommend to cats raw food meat, raw kangaroo meat, because our beginning of the kangaroo, we started the kangaroo meat 7 years ago. First, our best customer, like a most big buyer was a cat breeder. Show cat breeder, they know the how working for kangaroo meat, because they told me if they give continuing to raw meat, the cat breeding so good, he can come back exactly same time. But they continue to just dry food and not enough exercise. They are breeding so difficult because cat very important. Cat, especially cats, are very important to something nature condition. Then from the raw food, raw meat is very good. Most best food any other else about the breeding actually. I think same as dog too. Yeah. Because it's affects to hormone producing to the hormone cycle. Then those things, those factors are very important to immune system, and also even the breathing too, and also cold condition. That is my opinion actually. Yes.
Thank you very much. And we have more question from our pet clinic's Dr.Honma, Kyo-san.
I would like to ask you, from when you recommend to feed kangaroo raw meat to puppies?
Oh, okay, yes, yeah, good
When it
question.
started.
Yes,
What
Yeah.
is the best
Yep. Look, I mean, I suppose I look at it in the ideal world, as soon as the puppy is ready to eat solid food, you can introduce raw meat. Because if you think about it in the wild, when the female bitch would bring food for the puppies, what she would normally do is she would go and catch and eat the raw meat, and then she comes back to the den and she vomits the food to the puppies. So the puppies, the first thing they eat is raw meat that comes from the mother's stomach. So they are ready to eat raw meat as soon as they eat solid food, as soon as they have little milk teeth, little sharp teeth. So you can feed it straight away. And in fact, the healthiest dogs you ever see are the ones where the puppies start on raw food right at the start, because their system is always pure and healthy. They've never had the processed, food. So I think it's a really good time to start.
Yes, yes, yes. And I started the life with a dog about more than 20 years ago.
Yes.
And luckily, I have a really good friend who are, entering the dog shows and train dogs and breeding dogs and showing dogs. And 20 years ago, we didn't have any good, raw meat.
Yep.
So in those days, they advised us, why don't you try the horse meat?
Yes.
Maybe this is the
Yeah.
Japanese culture, so maybe
Yes. Yeah, yeah.
I'm afraid you have a little shock.
Maybe England.
No.
So it's okay.
Yeah. Horse meat is still commonly used in pet food. Yeah.
And they have a really good, result using the, raw.
Yep. Horse
raw
meat. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
But any other meat we couldn't use because of a bit, anxious about the
Yeah.
condition.
Yeah. And
the
quality.
taste.
Yes. Yep.
So when I, met the raw kangaroo meat, I feel very lucky.
Yes.
And I start, use my dog, the raw meat.
Yep.
Just like my old friend suggested me to start from the puppy food, use the raw meat.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, they can keep the condition very good.
Yep.
It's very healthy and good muscle and beautiful coat. Yes, and they can really good performance in the ring.
Yes. Yes.
So,
Yeah. I think we find the same thing in Australia. The people who probably are most passionate about feeding raw meat, as Dr. Honma was saying, the breeders, so people who are breeding dogs, they seek the most knowledge because they have a real vested interest in their dogs, not just in looking good, but in producing puppies. Because if you're a breeder and you have a dog, you want them to have as many puppies as possible. So when they feed the raw food, they find that the bitch will have 8 puppies instead of 4. And 8 is much better than 4 puppies. The puppies stay healthy, they stay stronger, they grow up well. The owners of the puppies are very happy. And the other side we find is the people with show dogs. Because again, with the show dog, they want them to look their best and perform their best. So when people are in the show ring, you tend to find that they also are very smart about using raw food because they know that their dog looks fantastic, has a healthy, shiny coat. As you were saying, performs really well in the ring, good for endurance, good for stamina and muscle growth. So you're quite right. The people that seem to know the most about using raw food are breeders and show people. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And one more question. For example, in this, humid, hot summer, some dogs have less appetite.
Yes.
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 And in that case, do you think it's okay to use like a puppy a meat for puppies to adult dog?
Yep. Yeah, I understand. Yeah. Yeah, it's commonly done. Yeah, because puppy food is more concentrated, you will find that you can feed less puppy food to an adult dog and they get the same calories. So if the adult dog is not feeling as good, hasn't got the appetite, then you can feed the puppy food and you can feed less. So that fits with the fact that they haven't got the appetite. The other thing I tend to suggest to people is that if you want to try and feed your dog at the coldest time of day. So we tend to find in Australia in summer, the best time to feed is very early in the morning, and that is when the dog will have the best appetite because they've been cool overnight and they will have good appetite first thing in the morning. But if you feed them late at night when it's hot, they don't want to eat. So that's another thing you can do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Dr. Bruce, please advise or tell something to Japanese consumer about the VetsAllNatural is great.
A message?
Message.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
Message.
Yep.
Message.
Yeah. Well, I think
please,
into the camera.
to Japanese people.
VetsAllNatural as a group of food and supplements is something that I'm very passionate about. I've spent 18 years developing the raw food diets. We're very successful in Australia, and my passion is about making animals live longer and healthier lives. That's exactly the reason I started making pet food. It's exactly the reason I started using raw kangaroo meat in Australia, is because as a veterinarian, I want the best outcome for your animal. I want your dog or cat to live as long as possible and be very, very healthy, and hopefully not have to go to the vet very often. And the absolute best way that you can guarantee to have a healthy dog or cat is to feed raw meat, and the best raw meat comes from VetsAllNatural. So that is my message to you.